I knew, I think probably in my early 40s, because I was aware that it was becoming more regular, that I was drinking too much and not remembering what happened the night before or whatever, but didn't really accept it until a couple of years ago. Yes, my mum's grandfather had been an alcoholic, and therefore my gran wouldn't touch the stuff. She never did, but my mum was that way inclined. My brother is an alcoholic, and when he's not smoking, he's drinking, and often doing both. I believe so, yeah. I think the evidence that's been presented, talking to John and Jane and co, to suggest that there is a link, and it certainly rings true in my family.
We're about to do genetic testing, by the way, for the predisposition of alcoholism and drug addiction. There's a specific gene that is triggered, so in your case, that sort of would stand up really, wouldn't it?
Could be.
Yeah.
My dad, in contrast, used to fall over if he had half a shandy. It was great to see. He didn't do it very often.
So it's from your mother?
Yeah.
We inherit an awful lot of things from our mothers. We inherit baldness. We inherit certain cancers.
I'm lucky then, because all of her 4 brothers were very bald.
Yeah,
from a very young age, most.
Does it come from your mother's grandfather?
Mother's grandfather. I didn't know him.
Yeah, so so obviously would have had a full head of hair. So that's usually, I mean, it's quite funny, though her brothers could have followed their mother's father.
Right.
You see, so it doesn't always, necessarily, it's quite funny, it's genetics.
Yeah.
Right, your age, what did you say?
57.
You worked for the government. Was that anything to do with alcoholism, or did you just think genetics?
No, I mean, it doesn't help if you get bullied, and I think everybody is at some point during their career. In my case, the new chief executive didn't decide, because it was local government, and the new political administration basically said to her, get rid of the management team. So at that point the bullying started, and you fight it for so long. And I went from being the most willing worker to absolutely hopeless, apparently. And I was made redundant, and I fought it, and I got reinstated. And having proved my point, I then said, I'll go and I'll work for myself, thank you very much. And satisfactorily earned a lot more than she did for the years that I worked for myself.
So you think there was a definite trigger to this alcoholism? Do you think that, I mean, what do you feel about it? I mean, you must have read a lot, you're an intelligent man. What do you feel about alcoholism? Do you think there are certain triggers, or do you just do this for, what's your thoughts on it? In your own,
I just think I was lazy. And when I was stressed, I had a drink. And when I wasn't stressed, then I started having a drink. And I didn't sort of think, this is going to damage me. I thought, well, young and fit, never been in hospital, never even broken a bone until I broke my toe. And I just thought, it's fine, shove the rubbish inside me, it can't do any harm, can it? Which is totally wrong, of course. But yeah, I just thought I could get away with it. When my wife, second time around wife, said some of the things I said to her the previous night, and I had no recollection at all of what I'd said and why I'd said it. Vile, vicious, terrible things. And I'm so lucky that I've still got her, because she didn't understand whether the normal 23 and a half hours a day person that she'd married was me, or the half an hour some nights when I just was vile to her. she can't even tell me some of the things I said. So that was the trigger to start thinking about doing something about it.
And what
I went to my doctor. She was lovely, she was very helpful, but basically the NHS will put you on a waiting list, and clearly when you've decided you want to do something, you want to do something. You don't want to wait around 3 months. And now I know that it would just have been chats and, you know, come back next week for another half an hour, and that wouldn't work for me, I know. So I started to have a look across the web, and then found Keith's company.
Mm-hmm.
And although he wasn't there at the time, and his assistant recommended somewhere to me, that wasn't going to work for me because I have to run my finances, my mum's finances and my brother's finances, because neither of them are competent to do it now. And I was just told categorically that I couldn't bring my laptop or a telephone or anything else. And I said, well, you started off by telling me it wasn't a prison. I bought the rail ticket and everything to go to Bristol to see these guys, and she said, that's not practical. So 12 steps or whatever it's called.
12 steps, yeah.
Yeah, and basically locked down for 5 or 6 weeks. And I phoned back to say that I wasn't going to do this. I phoned back to Keith's people, and Keith happened to be there, and he said, that wasn't right for you anyway. I know this guy called John, and I think that would be more your cup of tea. And he sort of talked me through it, and I said, yeah, I'd like to do that again. I suppose back in April, so early May, I was at Elstree and doing a 5-day session. I thought, this has clearly come from the States and is a big rip-off.
Yeah.
But Keith talked to me and talked to me and talked to me. He was great. And he said, you know, he's seen it work. He knows it works. He's not got personal experience of it as far as I know, but he knows it works. And I thought, well, it's not 6 weeks out of my life. It's expensive, but hey, I'm spending £100 a week on wine. So I thought I'd give it a go.
And your first experience was just walking in John and Jane. I mean, how did you? What did you feel that you'll stay there? Well, I mean, what was your view? I mean, you know,
well, we stayed in the hotel next door,
yeah.
Which was good because you felt like an adult, because there was a bar which I didn't even find until the 4th or 5th day, because I just had decided I had to knock it on the head. Because I, you know, whatever the IV does, I'm sure there's a huge element of wanting to do it as well. Yeah, trepidation to start with. I don't like needles particularly, so I wasn't sure. I didn't know, you know, Jane was there. I didn't know she was Jane. I just thought she was another customer. And John seemed a bit forbidding, a bit dour. And you can cut that one out. And but the other patients seemed very friendly and happy to sing the praises of everything. And
So
put some DVDs on, and you know, bought into it, and took it from there really. And I've not wanted a drink since.
And that's been, how long has that been now?
It was early May, so it's about 120 days, something like that.
Would that have surprised you before you went there?
Yes. Yes. And I've been to a wedding, I've been on a winery tour, I've done all sorts of things that we were already committed to, and it still doesn't matter. She thinks that it's great, but it's a shame that I'm still grumpy. It wasn't just the alcohol after all. And she feels a little bit left out when I'm not giggling and falling over, which was a state that I sometimes got into before I got into that angry, mad, crazy, insulting state. So at the wedding, for example, we left reasonably early, me driving of course, because I didn't really feel like falling over on the dance floor like everybody else. So that's an issue that of course most people, like me, don't have the luxury of having a partner by this stage. They've blown the whole lot, so I'm just grateful that we're still together.
So she's going.
She thinks that it's great, but it's a shame that I'm still grumpy. It wasn't just the alcohol after all. And she feels a little bit left out when I'm not giggling and falling over, which was a state that I sometimes got into before I got into that angry, mad, crazy, insulting state. So at the wedding, for example, we left reasonably early, me driving of course, because I didn't really feel like falling over on the dance floor like everybody else. So that's an issue that of course most people, like me, don't have the luxury of having a partner by this stage. They've blown the whole lot, so I'm just grateful that we're still together.